So let's look more into the Sumerian, Hebraic, Berber, Philistine, Afro-Asiatic, and Hamitic origins of these Irish Celtic people. We're going to talk about the Picts. When we begin to look at the Picts, they were called PICTs, meaning painted people. They were depicted as blue skinned with tattoos on them and long haired warriors. Now, when we begin to look at Pharaoh, we know that in Hebrew we would use the root PHR, which would take us back to Ophir, which is going to be one of the descendants of Shem, and his name literally means gold. When we begin to look at the root of his name, this will also lead us to Epher, who is the son of Abraham and Keter, and his name means dusty. His name is the same as Ipiru, and the Ipiru is what the Hebrews were first being called, and then it was Hibiru. So it was Apiru. When we take the root of the PRU in Hebrew, that is going to be the Fe, the Resh, and the Wav. It literally spells out Peru. Peru was the land of gold. When you begin to look at Yoktan or Joktan, he not only was the purest branch of the South Saudi Arabian Arabs, he began to spring from southern Arabia, and he went to found the Yucatan Peninsula in Peru, line up on line, precept on precept. This is why South America is known to be the highest Negro population outside of West Africa. So when we begin to look at the PHR of Ophir and we get Pharaoh, this would take us to Egypt. The root for Pharaoh in Egypt is Pera. This is going to be Peraa, meaning Pharaoh. This word in Hebrew literally means long hair. So when we begin to look into the long-haired pharaohs, they indeed were ruling ancient Egypt from about 5,200 BC, but at minimum 4,000 BC. So the Nakata period is Nakata 1, Nakata 2, and Nakata 3. At the exact same time, you see these long-haired pharaohs with the Syrian ziggurats, which is important to know because Asher is also a descendant of Shem. So with the Assyrian ziggurats in ancient Peru. So when you begin to see these blue people with long hairs and tattoos in ancient Egypt, we can begin to date them around 2000 BC to 1500 BC. It's essential to know that Abraham and his family entered into Egypt in 2181 BC. And these people were depicted as blue with long hair, the exact same description of these Pict Celtic Brighton people. And when we begin to see these tattoos on these blue people with long hair in ancient Egypt, they were women. The long-haired high priestess and princesses and saras were women. These were long-haired ministers, high priests. They had tattoos of the deities that they represented, which was normally Hathor, with the two eyes of Horus in a mask to be seen as hidden ones, or Nis Tarats, the Cathar. And when you begin to look at the Cathars, they became the purified ones later on in history. So we have already ascertained that these long-haired blue people are seen in ancient Egypt between 2000 BC to 1500 BC at the time of Abraham, and that these long-headed pharaoh warriors are the women priestess. You really didn't see the men with tattoos in ancient Egypt. So when we begin to look at the color blue in Irish language, it begins to denote a people with dark skin. When we begin to look at the color blue in Arabic, it denotes a people with dark skin as well. When we look at the word Arab for evening sky, and we know that the evening sky is blue black. It is rooted in Arab, which means black, and it also means mixed and many. So the Arabic nations are multiple, many black nations. When we take a gander into the significance of the color of blue for the Israelite, this is going to be Tekhelet. It is an indigo color that is still seen among the Gullah Geechee on today with the blue fingertips. Well, we began to look into the ancient Fulanis and their henna. They were also known to be great warriors. The Afar people, whom the name Ephir begins to derive from, were known to be warriors. So Ephir, whose name means dusty, which is identical with the Ipiru, the Afar are known to be warriors. So when you begin to look at who the mother of Ephir was, Qatar, and Qatar is the name to symbolize not only incense, but it means a knot, to represent the level of celibacy that Hagar kept until Abraham came to make her his wife again. So when we begin to look at Hagar as a toponym or an expression, an identification marker, Hagar was used to describe Arabic people. So when we begin to look at the hereditary princes of Egypt, they were birthed out of Hagar. They were birthed out of Qatar. So when they began to leave out of Egypt and go into Scotland and go into Ireland, they brought their warfaring, blue skin and tattooed long hair with them out of Egypt. When we begin to look at the origins of these Pictic Brighton people, they began to spring from Chaldean. This is Chaldean. So what would happen is that these people would take the names of the landmasses that they originated from and just rename new landmasses after that. So we know that these were Chaldean people, according to the Bible. Chaldean is spelled Caledonians. The only thing that's missing is the H. When we look into the etymological breakdown of this word, Chaldones, Caledones, or Calidones, Calidones, this comes from an earlier Britannic nominative plural in stem. Kale, Kale, means black. Don means river, and it also constitutes the Danu goddess. So this is the black mother goddess of the Danu River. It's also essential to know that pad is going to lead us to mean feet, because this is saying that the etymological said that it may also mean possessing hard feet, alluding to steadfastness or endurance. This would begin to constitute the nomadic efforts of these people. And we know that the Hibiru, the Hebrews, as well as the Fulani, were both not only nomadic, but semi-nomadic as well. So we have already ascertained that these are a nomadic, long-haired, blue-skinned, tattooed warrior tribe of people, which is the identical description of the Hibiru entering into Egypt as their ruling state of high priestess women with long-haired, blue-skinned, tattooed warrior tribes. We've been taught things in a very interesting way. Line upon line, precept on precept.